afternoon and welcome to podcast, number 2. This is the Spice Age. I am your co-host, Ian Thomas Hayes, and I am joined with my Western counterpart, Mr. Matt Toomey, Chef Matt Toomey. Chef, how you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How about you?
I'm doing great. We are in Ohio. Looks like you are at a beautiful day there in California.
I'm outside of Yosemite National Park in my backyard. I don't know if you can see the mountains and the river right behind me, but it is an absolutely perfect day out here in California.
All right. And actually, we are welcoming our esteemed guest from the Twin Cities today, from Ainsley Shea, all the way from Minnesota, Mr. Rosie Rosenstiel. Rosie, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you guys.
We're thrilled to have you on the show. This is, like I said, this is our second podcast. We are kind of talking about life. We are talking about some of the things that are important to us. We are talking about the things that make us, kind of who we are, the DNA of what makes us tick and what makes, like some of the interactions we come into, and we get to share some stories here. And we basically just throw these softball questions at Chef and we just let him run with it.
Boy, we got all day for that.
So let's
might
just
throw
kick
a
this
slider just for fun, though.
So we're going to kick this off because, Rosie, you're the guest on the show today, and we just really want to find out a little about you. Now, I know I introduced you there. You're in Minnesota. You're the CEO of Ainsley Shea. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing there today.
Well, yeah, I'm just doing whatever's in front of me. That's kind of how I try to approach life, So I've built a great life here with family. Got 3 kids, a wife, got a business here at Ainsley Shea where we do a bunch of marketing, advertising, strategy, brand, you name it. Cool clients that keep us in business. We incubate some companies out of here. Grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a little place called Whitefish Bay. So the things that make me tick are like, I would say I like golf. Although I love golf between shots, you know what I mean? I like the company on the golf course, and I'm a Brewer fan and a Packer fan and a Buck fan. And then, what I'm doing today is whatever's in front of me and whatever the good Lord puts in my life to the best of my ability without keeping score. So that's kind of what I'm up to around here.
Wow. And how's the weather in the city there?
It feels a lot more like Nashville, to be honest, than it does Yosemite. We're hot around here. Not going to get political about that. I just think we're in a heat pattern. But it's Nashville hot around here, and I'm looking forward to that breaking.
Yeah. So you mentioned some cool clients. Actually, you're sitting with 2 of them. I mean, I don't know if it gets cooler clients than us, right?
Oh, I think it's all you, Ian. You're the guy. You keep us in line. You make us look good.
Well, it's been about a year for us, and we had your guys come out here to Ohio and actually shoot my first music video. Cameron and Fozer, those guys came out, so that was kind of my introduction into your world, and we had a fantastic couple of meetings there to get started with. But that creative process that you guys do there is fascinating to me. I kind of in the back of my head was like, this should be pretty easy. I'm going to get on a couple of calls. Man, it's so much more involved than I thought it was to try to put all that creatively together. That's a fascinating world you guys have.
Well, yeah, and I just got talented people. What do they say? Matt, a lot about this, being in the business world and doing the restaurants. You hire people that are smarter than you and more talented than you, and you got a shot. And so, but you're right to say, process is involved, right? I think I grew up in the restaurant business, that Matt knows way better than I do. And then I kind of moved into American politics before I started, sort of this brand and strategy consultancy and incubator. And in the world of politics, I learned how to plan the work and work the plan. Right. Doesn't mean you got to be a slave to your plan, but you definitely, got to have a process. And in our business, it's learn, define, create, right? Because most of the people who invite us into their lives, have opportunities or problems, and problems are nothing but opportunities to solve really and move forward as opposed to backwards. But, when you have opportunities and people are inviting you in their lives, to deal with company events, whether they're bet the company events or advance the company events or idea. We have a process of learn, define, create. More about your business. We try to get smart with our clients, not smarter than them. And I know that Foser and Cameron's experience with you followed that process and love the song, love the video, and love your talent. So
that's it was and I like to talk about it. It was a great confluence of meeting and events. We had the right people in the right room at the right time, and that was fun. And actually, that's fun. That's how Jeff and I first met. We kind of got on the phone there, and we started chatting a little bit, and you come to find out you have all these shared principles and shared values and shared relationships, and kind of you run your life the same way and kind of have the same ethos. And I know we talked about when we were getting ready to get on the call here, we're talking about baseball teams. And what was that baseball team you were talking about there in Alaska?
Oh yeah, the Kenai Oilers, right? Like,
Kenai Oilers.
yeah. So there's this wood bat league, and I know Matt knows more about the wood bat leagues than I do. He's one of the few people who follows baseball more closely than I do, and that's where our affinity comes from. But the Kenai Oilers are in the wood bat league in Alaska, and they're my second favorite team in baseball, the Milwaukee Brewers.
Matt, what is because I don't know about this. We have so in Columbus where we are today, we have the Columbus Clippers, which is our farm team for they call them the Guardians, but I'm just not there yet.
Got it. Right.
It's still the Indians. That's what it is.
Of course.
I have my Indians jersey in my closet upstairs. Darn it, they're the Indians. But
yep.
So that's we have that AAA or that minor league. What's the difference in the wood bat thing?
It's just wood bat league is what it is. It's just wood bat only. It's preparation for guys to go into professional baseball. There's no cheap home runs. There's no cheap hits. You either barrel it or you break your bat and get off the field. But it's a really good introduction to the grind, which is playing every single day, being on a bus, not getting good sleep, being able to, look outside yourself and worry about your entire team, and being selfless. And a lot of times you got to play tired. Luckily, my son's not a quitter. He was raised to be loyal and stick to your plan till we always say till further notice, which there is no further notice. So every day is go time. And I always tell him, I always explain this to my son. I always say, think about if you didn't get up and get it done today, you'd waste one day out of your life not completing something. What a tragedy. And he's always subscribed to that belief. So it's easy for him to get up, with 4 or 5 hours of sleep and go play a game, no problem. Said you can always sleep later, and
it must be similar to what. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it just again the Woodback League, they play more. The grind is harder than Major League Baseball, and I know like Pete Alonso is one of the guys that came out of the Northwoods League. Explains it best. He says, this is preparation for pro ball, and pro ball's even, I don't want to say easier, but the schedule's not as intense. I mean, these guys are on a bus at 8:00 at night, getting in at 6 in the morning, sleeping 4 hours, playing another game. Never seen anything like it. And they get out there and they pull it off. And then some of them are only there 2-3 weeks, and then they go back home. But I was proud of my boy. He went the whole season, and he's finishing strong right now.
I wonder if it's similar to what they have in Ohio. Like, these guys they only use wood bats, and I know they're playing 6 days a week. They have 1 day off. A lot of our guys they go back and forth between the Guardians, depending on, what's going on or what they're needed to the week. We've got a player, John Kinski Noel, who we saw him last week finish a tied game in the 9th inning with a home run, and the next day he was back up in Cleveland playing. They're trading back and forth.
Yeah, it sounds like you're talking about a minor league franchise. You know what I mean? Somebody that's attached to the Guardians, and the Woodback League. It's kind of analogous in golf too. So you got the tour, right? And then you have sort of, well, we used to be web.com. Now it's I don't even know what they're called, Corn Ferry, right? Which is a gateway to the tour. And then you have developmental tours. sort of like mini tours. And wood bat leagues in Alaska are a little bit more like that. And most of the wood bat guys end up going to, single A, double A, triple A, because you got to be a heck of a baseball player to make those wood bat tours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, we are coming up on 10 minutes here, so we're going to take a quick break. I do want to throw it to our sponsors. This podcast is brought to you by Toomey's Seasonings. We got a little break here. We're going to show you some clips about Toomey's, and we'll be back here to keep talking with Rosie and Chef. We were back.
Toomey's Seasoning is a special blend of spices created by Chef Matt Toomey. It's a blend of kosher salt, garlic, pink peppercorn, and crushed black pepper, and it is delicious. It's a great addition to any meal, as well as a great addition to any care package for someone heading back to school. I know I always request it in my care packages. If you're looking to send a care package to a student in your life, head over to ToomeySeasoning.com.
Visit ToomeySeasoning.com. Sprinkle the deliciousness today.
Me in the backyard of Yosemite National Park here, having a wonderful day and just talking baseball. We're talking cooking. We're talking life. And Rosie, I know you're out in the Midwest there with Big Ian. We're we're just having a good time. So
We're splitting the country in 3 today is what we're doing, correct? Almost.
yeah. So
Isn't Tennessee, like Tennessee's split into 3 parts too, isn't it? Aren't there 3 different Tennessees, or am I confused about it?
I think they've got 3 different ecosystems, kind of like Texas does. If you go north to south, Tennessee goes east to west.
that's it.
They've got all the stuff in there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think we're going to flip the script here, and I think Rosie was going to come at us today.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple of questions about Nashville. Like, I'm curious. Okay. So I've been to Nashville, and I like Nashville, and I'm trying to figure out if I like the Johnny Cash Museum
Ooh,
more than I
man.
like Pawn Stars, right? But that'll just show you that I'm a tourist. So if a tourist is coming to Nashville, what do they absolutely essentially have to do to have a good time?
Well, number one, don't ever buy boots on Broadway. Uh, that's, there's your first mistake. Absolutely, what you got to do, man. I tell you what, I split time between Ohio and Nashville, and one of our, we've been down there up and back so many times. One of my wife and I's favorite things to do is find the hidden gems. Nashville has, Broadway's that section that everybody knows, the bachelorette, bachelor party. It's full of honky tonks. They don't call them bars there. It's honky tonks and great music. But if you get away from Broadway, you can find bowling alleys and barbecue joints that have some of the best musicians that you'll ever hear in your life that you'd never know their names, because these guys live in Nashville. They're session players, and their whole job is to play the music that you hear on the album that they might even not ever even make it on a tour. But that's just what they do. And these guys go out on weekends and weeknights, and they just play their hearts out. So I will tell you, you find locals when you get there. Yeah, it's fun to see the Johnny Cash Museum, and that kind of stuff is great to understand the history and the Ryman, and that, I mean, that's amazing. You see how the Grand Ole Opry got started, and where Nashville came from. But if you can find some of these local spots where you can just sit down and hear literally some of the best music, between Nashville and Memphis in that region of the country, Texas has got its version of country, California, they all have their own version of country, but that country music is so good, and those musicians are so talented that, I mean, in the world, probably the best people you over here play music. But that's what I would tell you to do is you find those little pearls that are sitting out there, and go just enjoy the community.
Okay, and then just
anyone?
one quick. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Matt.
No,
I
my
had
daughter.
one for you, but go ahead.
Yeah, my daughter wants to have her 21st birthday down in Nashville, and Ian, like what you just said, anyone I've talked to has said the same thing. They said, there's these little diamonds in the rough from when you go up and down the whether it's Beale Street or wherever it is, if that's what we're talking about. Kind of reminds me of the gas station I used to cook at, where people would just stumble upon it and be out in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden they're having a a filet mignon dinner at a gas station, and they're going, "What the heck's going on here?" And we used to have live entertainment there too, with these no-name bands that would show up and just tremendous musicians, really fun.
Yeah, and I just have a follow up for you, Ian, real quick, which is you're the I don't want to say you're the music guy on the show today, but you probably have more experience with music, than I do. Nobody wants to hear me sing. I'm sure Matt's got more talent than me, but like, so
Gosh.
what, like, you talk about Memphis, you talk about Nashville, you're talking about Austin a little bit, right? Like, what does New Orleans offer that none of those other places do, or is there anything that it does offer that those other places don't?
So I will be honest. I have been in New Orleans once in my life, and it was an experience. You've got musicians down there that well, don't read music, that are just playing because I mean it could be pitch black outside. Those guys get together and not even know who's in the room, and they just can create something out of nowhere that is unbelievable. Different kind of music, different kind of soul, different kind of vibe. I mean, I actually it's funny. I found out years ago that you can go to Memphis or to New Orleans, and within about 48 hours, you can create your own parade. That like New Orleans has a parade department. You can create your own parade, and then you can hire a second line with the band, which is a band, to follow you through the streets. So within about 48 hours, you can disrupt the entire flow of traffic in New Orleans with your own parade and band. And I don't think you can do that anywhere else in the world. but
I've
but their
I've
music is
I've
so good
actually
down there.
I've seen that before. We went into a bar in on French Quarter, and I know what you're talking about. They threw a washboard over one of the guys I was with, who was probably 5 or 6 beers deep. Next thing you know, he's playing the washboard. He joined the band. They all dance around the bar, and it's absolutely life how it should be lived. And it shows in their cooking too. When you want to talk about New Orleans and food, boy, the it's so different from anywhere else you'll go in America. And the people down there, like I say, the culture, it's so different from what we're used to in America. It's an absolute must on anybody's list. And then if you go to Mardi Gras, you're on your own on that one. I've been down to Mardi Gras. I mean, the crowds get a little crazy. I wouldn't recommend bringing your wife or significant other to that because it gets too wild. But you'll go into these hole in the wall places, have the best meal you've ever had, and something you've never had anywhere else.
Yeah, it's a culture. I say if you're having a bad time in New Orleans, you probably need a program.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, here's a question for you, Matt. Like I've been a hiring authority for, you know, I don't know, most of my adult life. You know what I mean? Started companies, worked with companies, hired people, blah, 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 blah.
Gotcha.
And I never look at their resumes. I always ask them two questions, right? One is, do you play sports or did you play sports in high school? Because I feel like I
Smart.
can learn a lot about a person if they actually competed at any level. But the most important question I ask them are, have you ever worked in a restaurant? So
Wow.
what is
Interesting.
it? Because I mean, just the skills that you learn about communicating and sort of, well, I guess I want to hear from you. What makes restaurant so special in terms of developing talent for the business world or any world? Like, you know more about that than most.
If you're good at the restaurant business, a lot of people, everybody could say I've worked in a restaurant, but few can understand. You learn so much about not needing to be right. They say the customer is always right, and you can bend that one around any way you want. But number one, if you played a team sport, restaurant business is very much like that, where you learn to just work with people. And the dumbest thing on the planet is the people that need to be right all the time versus, hey, that's a different way of doing something, and allowing others to think and do things differently. But with customer service, you just learn whatever the person's saying, you say, hey, no problem, and you learn how to just fix something right away immediately without arguing, without, that's a life skill. That's a life skill right there. Is, people say, I've had it before, the steak's overcooked and it's raw, and you just go, no problem, it will get you another one. And if you could learn to do that with just in your everyday life, your life's so much more simple. But so many people go, "What are you talking about?" And their ego gets involved, and they want to argue all the time with people. But restaurant work will teach you how to have nerves of steel, people yelling at you, and you just got to put up with it. And it's tough. And
Yeah,
the
quick little follow-up, because I
yeah,
know it doesn't work without both, right? Like, I know
correct.
that for
No,
sure, having been
exactly.
in the
Right.
restaurant business, but what's most important, the front of the house or the back of the house? And I'm not sure where I land on this controversy. I just know you need both to make it work. But is it the customer facing front of the house, or is it the back of the house where, and I know you navigate both yourself, but what do you think?
Well, I'll just tell you, in the back of the house, I'm the influence in the kitchen. So I teach the guys to, whatever the server's asking for, it's for a customer, and cooks, chefs, everybody can be egotistical and say no, and we're busy and this and that. But I always say, hey, that's our lifeline out there, and the server is the middleman. If you don't take care of the customer, they don't come back. We all starve. So I've set that tone in our restaurant for many, many years, and people see how it works. And then with the servers interacting with the guests, they understand. Hey, just get them whatever they want. And I'll tell you, you set the tone by when those people come in the front door. And I think, Rosie, you've been out in California, you've seen us do it before. Every customer, you make them feel special. You make them already feel good when they sit down, and you can lessen the demands of, so you get the LA crowd coming up and all the little special needs, you gotta find ways around it to make people happy. And you know, it's simple, and it's like a little game, and it becomes really fun if you can master it. But so many people, I tell them, check your ego at the door. Start asking better questions. How can I really make this customer happy? I've had people come in the restaurant and they start yelling at you. I had a lady yelling at me one time, and I told her, I said, I got yelled at so much as a kid. You're reminding me of being a little kid again. So thank you. I feel young and vibrant because you're yelling at me. And she just started laughing. And all of a sudden you change her whole state, you know, change her state by saying, instead of saying, well, what do you mean? Say, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm going to take care of that right now. And then I'm going to go in the kitchen. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to kill the entire staff in the kitchen. And you say something like that and they all start laughing. So
Delight your customer. That's good advice. Go
well,
ahead.
you just and again, on that note, we live in a ski resort. When you hire someone that says, and this is funny, what I ask them, I always ask new hires before I hire them, what do you like to do? They like skiing, rock climbing, backpacking. They're usually the soloist. Not all of them, but most of them. They're all about themselves, and all they want to do is, they want to, they're all just there for their own needs. And then you to ask someone else, well, I played soccer or baseball or volleyball. They understand that, hey, if we all work together, we can win. And it's not even an opinion. It is just factual. But the solo sports, like, oh, I'm a cross country runner. Yeah, you might get lucky. They might run around the restaurant a little bit quicker, but they're always all about themselves, guaranteed. Seen it for years. And when you say that, they can't even admit it. They just get pissed off at you. So better just to say, hey, we're not hiring right now, or bye-bye.
Those are all the questions I had.
Yep.
To follow up with that, I think so I worked in a restaurant when I was in college, a high-end French restaurant here in Columbus, Ohio. And when my daughter was a senior in high school, she was asking me what to do for summer. I said, you got to work in a restaurant. I said, I don't care if you're hosting or serving or whatever you're doing, but I think there's something about that's a problem solving thing for kids now, is they're getting in front of the customer, and they're having to deal with, immediate confrontation, right? Like immediately. And then they're working high pressure, and then they're also learning how to work within a team, be that person. And that's a kind of a skill that it's hard to find a job that'll give you all those things that fast. And my daughter
Hey,
she's in Florida now in St. Augustine, and she's working for a really high-end seafood restaurant now. And she's going, I'm really glad I went back and did that. So she's there for her summer during college, but she's like, I'm really glad I worked in the restaurant in high school. I'm really glad I got to see that. I think that's a great thing for somebody to start off on. And it's just a little bit of humility to it, right? It's humbling at some point in time, but at the same time, it gives you a skill that you don't have that you can't get by going to a automatic, what is it, the automatic cash registers at grocery stores, because you lose that element of humanity, right? Like we don't have, like you just said, being able to talk to somebody in that moment where people have just this, I want. Being able to talk somebody down and break that wall that fast. I love what you said about going in and killing everybody in the kitchen, because what
Yeah,
else is she going to do than say,
right.
you know what, you're right. I made such a giant deal out of nothing. And it's such a simple concept to just go, yeah, you're right. I'm way overdoing this. Let's just have some fun and enjoy life. Cause I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not going to enjoy what you're doing, why are you doing it? Right.
I I've said this before. I'll tell people, I'll go to the table and say, "It's my first day out of jail. Give me a break, or they're going to send me back." And then they go, "All right." Or I'll say, "Okay, whatever went wrong, it's my fault, but I'm still going to kill the guy in the kitchen. So we're going to get this taken care of." And you just make it funny. And but the problem is people have fear of being wrong. They have this fear of, "Oh my God, I made a mistake." Instead of going, embrace a mistake, go, "You know how many mistakes I've made? I've made it more than anybody." I tell people in my restaurant when something goes wrong, I've screwed up more times and I'm still screwing up. And when people think you're some successful businessman, I said, I wake up every day with the fear of failing, fear of not being enough, fear of our restaurant not making it. You deal with it every day, and how you handle it's the is the key to everything. But I also want to reiterate, in a restaurant, you will meet more people and you will network. And when your daughter's there and she's trying to get a marketing job, or she's trying to get a job with Rosie, you'll meet these people and they'll say, "What an energetic, what a mature young kid. And you know what? I want them to run my company." And I guarantee you, you don't have to work in a restaurant for your whole life like idiots like me. But you know what? The young kids, when they're in college, you go bartend or something, and people come in and you go, "Hey, Rosie, you're the guy from Minnesota, but you're a Milwaukee Brewer fan. Come on, I remember you from last night." Rosie's going to go, "Hey, what are you doing in November? We're looking to hire someone." It happens all the time.
Well,
This,
what's amazing to me is how transferable the skills are everywhere else. Because, I run a agency right now where you have accounts and you have creative. You know what I mean? And it's amazing how often I'm drawing the analogies around my shop, around restaurants. It's front of the house, back of the house, and they always there's always this pressure between the two, right? But the front of the house is only as good as the work that's created by the creative team. You know what I mean? And we're collectively only as good as the presentation of that work on the client side. And the whole time I'm thinking about back when I used to tend bar and have, I guess, direct but respectful uh, conversations with the people who are making the food. You know what I mean? As the front of the house, I felt like it was my job to, take care of, never throw them under the bus. You know what I mean? But to make sure that I was delighting the customer on the front end, right? Or getting clear information from the customer about what was going to make things right. And it's so analogous to an agency. Like, I don't think I could do anything that I've ever done in my life without growing up in the restaurant business, because of all the skill set that it teaches me. And
so
I
true.
use that skill set every minute of every day and everything that I do,
Yeah, I love it.
professional, personal, spiritual. You know what I
Love it.
mean? It's like,
Love it.
so yeah,
Yeah. And it teaches you learn the skill of it's how you say things. you know,
that's right. And would
you,
I
you
rather be happy or
you
right? You know
you
what I
could say,
mean?
yeah, you could go, "Hey, sorry, the kitchen's really backed up right now, so it's taking longer." Or you could go out and go, "You know what the chefs are doing right now? They're making sure that your food is perfect. So they're taking their time, but it's going to be lights out when you get it." And they go, "Oh, okay. Now how about another round of drinks?" Or you can listen to me talk your ear off about how cool I am, whatever you want. You just it, every guest interaction is different. You never have a, like, "Hey, welcome to Toomey's." None of this generic crap. Everyone that walks in the door is something different, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and if you go to Mammoth and you don't eat at Toomey's, you have no idea what you're missing. I got to say that out loud.
I appreciate
Or
that.
you have no idea what and I'm not even talking about the food, though the food's off the charts. I'm talking about sort of the service. I'm talking about the experience. I'm talking about, because restaurant is an experiential business, and it is a plus. I'm not qualified to give out Michelin stars. I don't know anything about it, but I know if there's a Michelin star on experience, Toomey's and
I
Mammoth would be
appreciate it.
one of them for sure.
I like it.
All right, guys, we're going to take a second here. We're going to throw it back to our sponsor, Toomey's, what we just talked about, Toomey Seasoning, and we'll be back in a second here to wrap this up.
Toomey Seasoning is a special blend of spices created by Chef Matt Toomey. It's a blend of kosher salt, garlic, pink peppercorn, and crushed black pepper, and it is delicious. It's a great addition to any meal, as well as a great addition to any care package for someone heading back to school. I know I always request it in my care packages. If you're looking to send a care package to a student in your life, head over to ToomeySeasoning.com.
Visit ToomeySeasoning.com. Sprinkle the deliciousness today.
All right, we are back here. We are hanging out with my co-host, Chef Matt Toomey from Mammoth, California. My name is Ian Thomas Hayes. You guys just joined us, and we are hanging out with our buddy Rosie from the Twin Cities today. We've had a great conversation talking about baseball. We're talking about life. We talked about work. We talked about, just focusing on what makes, work important and crucial details and how we get from point A to point B. But right now, we got a couple questions for you, Rosie, if you're ready.
Sure.
All right, here we go. We're in the backyard. It's a Sunday afternoon, and you're cooking. What is your go-to on the grill, and how do you make it?
Yeah, I'm a simple guy. I'm usually like a ribeye. You know what I mean? And no ribeye is complete without Toomey's seasoning, of course. So like I'm one of the shaker guys, you know what I mean? Like I'm not like Chef Matt. I don't have any particular skills in the kitchen, but what I find is that, it elevates what I make. And I use, like, I even brought my shaker, right? Because I don't go anywhere without it, but just light shaking on both sides because it doesn't take too much, and it takes a ribeye and makes it amazing.
Love it.
Excellent. Now,
Love it.
so we're doing a
I'll also
ribeye.
sprinkle it on some vegetables, right? Because you're not just eating meat. I'm not a
That was the next
carnivore,
question.
so yeah.
That was the next
I
question.
mean, here's the deal. I'm like the air fryer guy. Like I got the air fryer going while I'm grilling. Because again, I don't have any special talents or anything like that, but I love it in the air fryer. I like cut up some red potatoes and then a bunch of like medley of vegetables and throw those in the air fryer just because I kind of try to eat as healthy as I can. So I'm not putting a bunch of oils on it or anything like that. If I am, it's like olive oil. So I'll have the ribeye with the potatoes, and then like it's awesome on asparagus or I feel like I'm a real chef with no talent when I'm working on the Brussels sprouts in the air fryer or something like that. But that's sort of what a Sunday evening cookout is. It's not my favorite Toomey's recipe. I like it, when I put it on top of a frozen pizza and throw it in the oven for 425 for 15 or 17 minutes. You know what I mean? That's a great Toomey's recipe. And my favorite, I think Toomey's belongs in every popcorn aisle in America, because if you have not done this, it will change your life. You know what I mean? For the better, which is, one of those like one of those microwaves, those things you throw those packs of popcorn in there and they pop, and then you open it up and you sprinkle some of the deliciousness on top of the popcorn, and you shake it and you sprinkle again and you shake it. And, it belongs in every theater and every popcorn aisle in America, as far as I'm concerned. So the only reason I'm involved with Toomey seasoning is because I'm afraid they'll cut me off. And I've just come to believe, that Toomey's makes everything better, even my life. So that's why I sprinkle the deliciousness, which is
I love it.
my favorite tagline. We all have our own taglines, but I just tell everybody in my life, get some Toomey's. It'll improve everything, including your life. And don't be afraid to sprinkle the deliciousness in it. It's sort of, it's moving word of mouth.
That's funny, Rosie.
In more sorted company, I call it the crack cocaine of seasoning. But, I don't know if that's appropriate for your listeners.
Right.
It's funny you mentioned they might cut you off, because I'm in Ohio. I'm literally singing for my supper, so I keep my Toomey supply. That's I'm telling you, it's there, but I've never heard any. Steph, have you ever heard of anybody putting it on popcorn?
Oh, you know what? All the time. And I was going to say, it's getting people that food that you don't want to eat that's good for you. They'll just go, man, when you put it on the broccoli or the asparagus or the squash, no one likes squash. And they're like, my kids will eat vegetables only now because of the seasoning in it. And I like what Rosie's approach was in the, hey, backyard barbecue, simple. I don't have all day to make all these different sauces or marinades or none of that. Hey, throw it on, season it up. You're done in 10 minutes and you're eating, and move on to, sitting down and enjoying your meal instead of spending all day and making this big mess in your kitchen. It simplifies everything. And it just balances out the natural flavor of whatever you're actually consuming versus masking the flavor and just going, wow, we tasted this Montreal seasoning or whatever you put on there. Tastes like a bunch of thyme and basil and all this other stuff that you don't want to have. So
I got 3 kids in college. They don't get a care package without one of these, right? Because it like goes well in every dorm room in America. Like at midnight when they're studying or whatever, and they get hungry and they want some mac and cheese, they throw the Kraft mac and cheese, and then they use it like table salt and pepper, And I got a kid who's in the bag room where I play golf. I gave him some of it. He goes to Baylor University. He stopped me the other day. He's like, dude, that stuff is so amazing. And I'm like, yeah, you got to have your parents send some of that stuff to you at college because you just, it makes, here's the deal. Anything you use it on, it makes it better. There's no question about it. You can sprinkle it on a salad. I mean, makes everybody a cook. Elevates everybody's cooking. I think that's true. And that's what I think's so cool about your recipe, Matt, is that it elevates everybody's cooking. And I think it matters to people who are trained chefs for sure, but it matters more, to people who aren't trained chefs, I think.
Well, and in our kitchen too, people come in and they go, what is it about your food? It just tastes so good. And I go, you know what? I'm not going to lie. It could be a steak with nothing on it, and except we just season our food. And all you have to do is season it lightly. You don't have to go big with, a sauce or anything else. Like I said earlier, and they come back, people come into the restaurant every single day and they're like, oh my God, we got to get more of that. And all we're trying to do is not sell it, just turning people onto it and giving them a product they could use and getting rid of all these other things that they used to use and just simplifying their life a little bit and getting the message out there, because it just makes me happy when people come in and go, wow, it like clicks in their head. They go, I feel like I'm a chef now. And I go, it's just a little bit of tiny magic. And the key is simplicity. Some people just try to, throw all these other ingredients in anything when you don't really need it.
Matt's so much nicer than I, because I'm waging a war on big salt and pepper. You know what I mean? Like I'm just waging the war. We're going to wage it and fight and win the war against big salt and pepper. There's no reason for it.
Right.
Well, okay.
I'm just kidding, man.
So three things. One, Rosie, now that I know you have 3 kids in college, I will pray for you more every day.
Yeah. All right, one's out. I should give one credit for actually graduating. I had 3. Now I got 2 in. The other one's graduating. One of them is, in life doing vintage festivals. Totally rad vintage fest.
You still get the purse for 2 in there because holy cow. Chef, I got a quick question for you, because this always comes up in our house, and we're talking about, putting this on you mentioned it, Rosie, you mentioned the oil. In the war between oils, I know there's olive oil and there's avocado oil and everything, but when it comes to just olive oil, what are you recommending? Because there's extra virgin, there's all cold.
Right.
Like, what are we putting on these vegetables?
You want to use I prefer a canola blend. Extra virgin, a lot of those oils are just they're useless for just like dipping bread with your balsamic, because it's got the flavor of the olive in there. It's pretty intense. But you want to like a nice canola or vegetable blend with your olive oil. Just so it's not as it gets too bitter if you cook with it, and then all of a sudden you go, whoa, what went wrong there? Any of those oils that are really green, stay away from them. But there's a lot of olive oil blends. Vegetable and canola is usually the ones that are out there on the market, and it's a neutral oil that's healthy. It's not, it doesn't have the soy or the peanut oils in there. So I prefer those. And again, it's just a neutral, a healthy oil that you use.
So we're going for a blend.
Yeah, and whatever you do.
Helpful. I learned something. That's a great question.
Yeah, I've always wanted to know because I know sometimes you're putting an olive oil in a pan and they have a higher smoking point. Is that correct? Like they'll
Yeah,
burn
yeah.
faster?
Well, again, it's you get these extra virgin, and if you're pouring it out, it'll look really green. It'll have this dark color, and that's a cold oil. That's for a vinaigrette or a dipping oil that like in Europe they just have oil, and you've seen it in America too with like balsamic vinegar and Parmesan cheese for bread, whatever. But sometimes just a good cold olive oil, like an extra virgin, just for your bread, and you know kind of nice on your palate while you're enjoying an appetizer, some cheese or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that
Excellent. Well,
word,
there's the
palate.
more you
That's
know
a great
moment for
word.
the palate. That's wonderful. All
It
right,
is a
so
wonderful word. I don't use that
Rosie, I
enough.
got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go off subject because we asked Chef this in the first episode when we were getting to know him. What is your favorite band, or whom is your
Yeah,
favorite
no,
band?
it's a good question. It's a hard one to answer. And I'm only gonna pick one, right? Because you
You
said
got to
who's
pick,
your
just pick
favorite
one.
band.
Yeah, this is not a desert
So
island. Only get to listen to one type of thing. It's just
yeah, I don't know. My favorite band is the Grateful Dead with
There you
Jerry
go.
Garcia and Pigpen. So that's
Love
my
it.
favorite version of the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite band. Now, I didn't get to see them very often, listen to their tapes and stuff like that. I used to see Jerry and Brent and Bobby and all those guys after Pigpen died. But I liked them more in that kind of bluesy era. And then after Pigpen died, tragically through alcoholism, a state of death was alcoholism. You don't read that a lot on death certificates, right? They talk about heart problems when it was really alcoholism, but his stated cause of death was alcoholism, and they were pretty bluesy and soulful with him, and after that they got a little more bluegrass, which I love
Yeah.
too. But yeah.
All right. So favorite band. So what was the first? It doesn't have to be your favorite. What was the first concert you ever attended?
Yeah, first concert I ever attended was Dylan with Tom Petty back
Oh
at
man,
Summerfest in Milwaukee, and it was
Love
like
it.
I might have been like I started going later. I don't know why. I started going to concerts when I was like 17, and there might have been some concerts at Summerfest that I sat through with cover bands, but the first real concert I consider myself having gone to was Dylan and Petty played the main stage at Summerfest, and it was off the charts. It was very
Yeah.
good.
I've seen them
man.
before.
I
Mhm.
never got to see Petty, but boy, I wish I would have.
Yeah,
Man,
I saw Dylan last year in a small venue in Chicago. That was a trip. I mean, I don't know if you've seen him. I mean, he's still performing, right? And everybody's there looking for the hits, and Dylan, he ain't gonna do that. So, you know, I think there were some people who enjoyed it, and I think there were some people who were looking to sing along and just didn't get the chance. But yeah, he was still banging away at a keyboard in a way that I don't recall. You know what I mean? He was like playing a lot more piano than guitar in that show, and incoherent, but loved every minute of it. I wasn't incoherent; he was incoherent, but I loved every minute of it. Yeah.
very good. Well, Rosie, I want to thank you for your time. I know we've had a great time talking with you today. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for giving us an hour of your time and just sharing thoughts with you. It was wonderful. I want to invite everybody to come back and join us again. We're going to continue this podcast. We've got some great guests coming up. I'm not even going to get into who they are next because
Yeah.
it's going to be fun. So we're sponsored by
Okay.
Toomey's. So if you haven't had a chance to go out there, check them out.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Can I
Yep.
say just one more thing, which
Yeah,
is I'm
please.
both grateful and honored to have been a guest. So
Thank you very much, Rosie. We appreciate it.
Likewise.
And-
Likewise.
And again, thanks to my co-host out on the West Coast, enjoying some beautiful weather. We are here in Ohio,
It's
dying
amazing.
of 101 degree heat. So we'll
My
get through
Lord.
our day. But thanks so much.
Always.
Thanks so much, and we appreciate you guys joining us. And we will see you again soon.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Hey, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today for this episode of our podcast, The Spice Age. My name is Ian Thomas Hayes, and I am the co-host of the podcast, along with my good friend, Chef Matt Toomey, the creator of Toomey's Seasoning and the chef for Toomey's Restaurant in Mammoth, California.
We're going to be bringing this podcast to you weekly, and we're very excited about all the different guests we have lined up and all the content we have for you. You can find this podcast at www.toomeyseasonings.com. You can also find the podcast at my website, www.ianthomashays.com, or anywhere else you listen to your regular podcasting. We want to thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you very much.